Hello everyone, back tuning in to today's video. Going to have a look at the weather next week, 10 days in today's video, and then we'll have a look at CFSB2 for the next month. This takes us into March. So it looks as though we're going to have a milder spell of weather coming up. Of course, we've lost the easterly winds now, and I think the next week, 10 days, is certainly going to be milder. We might be seeing a few hints of something colder by the time we get through to the end of February, possibly into the start of March as well. I'll show you the detail on that in a second. But before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, this links to articles on all the pages. If you have a browser which is click through the links, you're going to help us pay for the website, and thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads both pages which own that content. When you watch them, you can close them back up again, and it does help to pay for gaswebs.com. So thanks very much for getting involved, and thanks for doing that. Going to start off with the Central England temperature. That's just updated. We're halfway through the month now, of course, February being a shorter month. So we currently stand at 4.5 degrees, which is an anomaly of 0.4 degrees above average. And this is after the easterly. So it looks like we're going to have a milder than average month, I would have thought, because this is going to start to move back upwards again over the next few days. And I suspect we will come out with potentially quite a significant deviation. Could well be maybe 1.5 degrees above average by the time we get through to the end of the month. Won't be at all surprised if that happens. So it looks like we're heading for quite a warmish February. We certainly didn't reduce the temperature by that much when we had that easterly wind, and the reason was we didn't get the frost really. We did get slight sort of night frost. Days were quite cold, but we didn't get the severe frost at night, which is what you really need at this time of year to get colder than average months. So we're still a little bit above average even after the easterly, and I say this is going to lift up over the next few days. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles the next couple of weeks, significantly milder than average, quite obviously. So the red line here is the 30-year temperature average in terms of the upper air temperatures, and it looks like we're going to be staying mild through into the final week of February, most definitely. This takes into the final week of February just here. You can see how mild the temperature is going to be. In fact, by weekend, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see those temperatures going up to around 14, possibly 15 degrees. Now, as we get through to the end of the graph, we see we have got quite a bit of scatter appearing there. The white line, which is the trend line of the model, or of the ensemble, that is beginning to dip down a little bit as well. So there are a few members of the ensembles here that are really quite significantly cold. I might go through the GFS ensembles tonight, actually have a quick look through all 21 members, see what each individual member is showing for the end of February and the start of March. Certainly nothing definitively cold there, because it's scattered. So half of the ensemble members are staying mild, half of them are going quite cold. So there's nothing definitively cold showing up, but possibly a little bit of a cooling trend. For precipitation, well, it just looks like it's going to be pretty dry, really, with this mild weather. So temperatures above average, precipitation below average. It looks like a pretty mild period. As we go through to the end of February, start of March, possibly signs then that we're turning a little bit more unsettled, possibly in association with this reduction in the temperature. But again, even then, there's nothing really wet showing up, so I think it's certainly going to be a fairly dryish end to what has been really quite a dry winter. Temperature anomalies for next week coming out milder than average, as it is through most parts of Europe as well. Even the southeast of Europe looks like it's warming up quite a lot also. So yeah, temperatures are going to be going significantly milder than average in most places, including the UK, from the 14th through 22nd of February. Precipitation anomalies, I should say temperature anomalies for America, shows that it's cold than average out in the west, and it's milder than average through the Midwest and going over towards the east side. The east side actually close to normal, just a little bit on the milder side. Then in the central regions, significantly warmer than average, and we go to the western side, and it comes out in America slightly colder than average. That's been the case through most of the winter, I think, actually. The precipitation anomaly for the UK looks like this, and for Europe, most of Western Europe coming out drier than average. The east does look more unsettled, not desperately wet, but certainly more unsettled in the east and northeast of Europe, drier than average in the west of Europe. For precipitation in the United States, it looks like this, and you've probably seen the reports recently about the flooding situation in California, and look at that, the precipitation normally is very significantly wetter than average through the western side of America, California included, and going down into New Mexico. So the precipitation normally coming out significantly wetter than average in the west of America. And as I say, California is including that over the next week. And this is a huge change on what's been happening in America over the past several years, actually. They have had a drought in California for a very, very long time. But it looks like it's very much over. And this is all rather odd, really, because I'm off on a tangent, really, with this, and shouldn't really be putting this into a weekday video. But it is rather odd what's happening there, because you would normally associate wet weather in California with El Nino. We didn't really break the drought in California when we had the Super Nino of 2015, 2016. Now we're in a more ENSO-neutral situation, possibly even slightly towards La Nina, when you expect it to be very dry in the west of America. Actually, it's turned very wet. So quite what's going on, I'm not sure, but I'm sure, except the areas that are being flooded, many parts of California are quite relieved to be seeing this rainfall after so many years of very dry weather. So coming back to weather for next week, 10 days in Europe and the UK. Well, here we go with the GFS for Saturday, and we're in this westerly flow. It looks unsettled in the north, probably quite dry down in the south. We go through into Sunday and we maintain a situation of high pressure down to southwest, low pressure to the northwest, and bringing in this west-southwesterly flow, which will be mild. Southern parts of the country probably mostly dry into the start of next week, always a little bit more unsettled into the north. Then through the middle and latter stages of next week, it might turn more generally unsettled then. This is taking us to next Thursday, 23rd of February, when it looks like low pressure is beginning to dig in from the north and west, turning things more widely unsettled, even down into the south. There could be some rain coming through, and that takes us up to day 10, which is Friday 24th of February, where it looks like all places by then are unsettled and beginning to turn a bit colder as well. It's time to drag in some cooler air, probably not colder, but cooler air coming in from the northwest. And then beyond that, the GFS wants to try and build a little bit of a ridge out to the southwest. But notice we are very close to quite cold air by the end of the month. This is 26th of February, where we've got quite a bit of cold air in over Scandinavia. It wouldn't take much to start to pull that down across the UK right at the end of February. This is the E70UF again for Saturday. We've got high pressure close to the south, low pressure up to the northwest, so generally quite mild and dry in the south and settled in the north. Maybe a little bit more unsettled than the GFS for Sunday. This is probably bringing a band of rain right way across the country in the early hours of Sunday. And then the high pressure re-establishes to the south again early next week, so England, Wales getting a lot of dry weather. Scotland and Northern Ireland probably more unsettled into the middle part of next week, and again it looks like it's turning more definitively unsettled. Notice cold air with this trough is sinking in towards Scandinavia by next Thursday. For us, this area of low pressure in the Atlantic is beginning to move in. That will probably bring rain even down into the south. So by day 10, Friday 24th of February, we are very unsettled then. A deep area of low pressure is across the country, strong to gale force winds, and even down in the south there'd be some heavy rain pushing through. And as this low pressure exits to the east, we can't run on beyond this, but as the low pressure exits to the east, we might start to find colder air beginning to dig in on the backside from the north and the west. Fine, having a look at the CFS V2 for the next month. So these are 500 millibar high tolerance broken down into week periods. The first week period takes us from today, 14th of February, through to the 20th. We've got that ridge out to the east and also a little bit to the northeast, trough of low pressure in the Atlantic. Jet stream doing something a bit like that. It's turning milder with a lot of dry weather, especially so for the south. Week 2 is the 21st through 27th of February, and we've got high pressure vent to the south with low pressure to the north. So this is our Atlantic interlude. We know that for the start of this period, probably quite dry in the south, but over time it probably does begin to turn more unsettled, even down into southern parts of the country. And then we go through to the end of February and the start of March, where we get a repositioning of the high pressure from the 28th of February through the 6th of March. We find the ridge out to the northwest. So still a lot of dry weather with that, but it is cooler. We're probably bringing the air through, or the jet stream and the flow through something like that. Bit of a trough setting up over Scandinavia as well. And then we go through to week 4, which is the 7th through to the 13th of March. And it looks like we're building up a ridge across Greenland with a trough underneath it. So that's very close then to starting to pull down some really quite cold air from the north or the northeast. This was showing up CFSV2 on Sunday, this signal. It's still there today to get these above average heights going around Greenland, which with the trough underneath it could envelop cold air into that trough and possibly give us a late spell of quite wintry type weather as we get through into March. So it certainly for the next week to 10 days, we've got mild weather coming up. You have a lot of fine weather as well down in the south. There will be rain at times in the north. And later next week, I think it does start to turn more generally unsettled from the north and from the west. And that could carry us through to the end of the month. And then we get through into March, we might have to think a bit about turning things colder then as we get through into March. And I'll have more on that when we have a look at the GFS ensembles this evening. So come back for that then. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.